Hey all, welcome back to the channel, and yes indeed, 2020 is done, we're going into 2021 and we have already looked at the top 10 best and worst, and it was a bit of a hard one to do because guess what? We really didn't have bad offerings this year. We had variations on good. If you haven't checked that out, well, let me check that out maybe after this one, because last year around this time we did a discussion of was Transformers Siege really worth it? We had some massive price hikes and we had quite a bit of a deep discussion and concluded that it was, but barely. Well, how about Earthrise? Was Earthrise worth it? Now, to be fair, when I ask this question, it includes Earthrise offerings, it includes the Netflix War for Cybertron trilogy offerings as part of it, it includes the Selects offerings, and it even includes the exclusives like Cybertronian villains, and yes, I just laid all of that aside, and even the Galactic Odyssey, because there's been a lot of sublines for this. Maybe too much, maybe too many. Well, we're about to weigh in on it all and analyze it all in the latest GotBot True Review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. And hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. Let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all of the groups that I'm either an admin or a mod for, all of those links, they're all down in the description below. Check out all of my social media, all of that linked in the description below. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube. Become a channel member. And the question of the day is, was the Earthrise line worth it? And this year in particular, 2020, man, was wild. And I think a lot of things changed in order to get all of the planned releases out within the year. I think that's why we ended up with Cybertronian villains and Galactic Odyssey and everything else. And a few exclusives that are Earthrise, but like, why are they exclusive? It was a wild, weird, and wacky year. And when we looked at Siege last year, I said then that, yes, it eked out being worth it in terms of our investment of finances, time, and effort. Can we say the same thing about Earthrise and its associated, you know, Galactic Odyssey and Cybertronian villains and Selects releases? Well, we're about to delve into all of it, right from Battlemaster and Micromaster all the way up to Titan, when we head over to the table and take closer look at this year. So yes indeed, here we are once again with a little bit of a year in review. And I almost don't know how to approach this. Last year was pretty easy with Siege because we had the big price jump and it was guilty or innocent, man. Was it just worth it? But in 2020, the world turned upside down, topsy-turvy, and inside out, and it threw everything off. And as we now come to the end of Earthrise and embark on Kingdom, the question becomes, look, in a year that was as topsy-turvy as this, was it a good year to be a Transformers collector or not? Was this worth the investment of money and effort and time? There's a lot here that goes into this discussion this year. So we're going to start from the smallest class, we're going to work our way up, and then we're going to talk about the actual offerings and the plastic versus some of the business practices and what that means to come out with a final assessment, so to speak. Starting things off, we have the Battlemasters, and way off to the side over there you can see we have Slitherfang next to the Quintesson Judge, and in front of our C you can see that we have Sound Barrier. They're cheap, they're small, they're easy to get if you want an army, build them cool. I think Slitherfang is a cool design. Sound Barrier is not great. He's really not. The articulation is not great. He looks good, but there's been a lot of breakage issues with him. I think the standout is Double Crosser, who I don't have right here now, but I think that they're fine. I think that they were worth it for what they are. Then we get to the micromasters. I like direct hit and power punch. I thought they were fine, they were great, so I'm cool with them. The Astro Squad was a little, they were okay. Interesting, but not the best articulated. I think Trip Up and Daddy-O were a train wreck. I think Growl and whatever the other one was, I think they were pretty good. So I don't really have an issue there. We didn't get a lot of micromasters this year, and I think it's because they realized that some are hits, some are misses, and not everyone is in for all of them. I think that the continued use of that Swindler mold is their biggest mistake with that size class, because it's a garbage trash mold that never should have existed. And they've used it now 3 or 4 times and it's trash every time. Was that worth it? Slightly overpriced, if I'm being honest with you. Here in Canada they went for $12.99. They're $10.99. I don't think that this year's offerings were that great. The 4-pack, that was a selects. I'm glad to have the 2 that go with Double Dealer. I'm also glad to have the Blue Rumble and the Wing thing, but like that was definitely overpriced for what it was. I know I overpaid for it, and it's because they did what they always do. They held up the Blue Rumble Frenzy over everyone's head because that's the one they wanted. It just so happened that the other ones were cool. Some people specifically wanted the ones to go with Double Dealer, so I get it, and I think it was a good way to do it. I don't regret getting it, but I wish that I had paid a little bit less than what I paid for. So when we talk about both of the smallest size classes, the Micromasters and the Battlemasters, I think they were worth it, but I'm putting my head to the side and sort of grimacing my face a little bit in saying so. Now we get to the deluxes, and I've actually kind of changed position here so that I can interact with some of this as we go through here. Some deluxes I totally think were absolutely worth it, such as Rotor Storm here. Rotor Storm definitely worth it, but so was Spinister. Tiger Track, little overpriced I thought, but you know what? I said the same thing about Sideswipe. I think that Hoist, absolutely, Hoist back right here. Hoist and Trailbreaker, absolutely worth it. We got more grams of plastic for the price. We did not have price increases again this year. They stay consistent for Earthrise. I think that the amount of paint, the playability, and the mass for Ironworks or Hot House, same with Grease Pit and Airwave, I think all 4 of those absolutely worth the price of admission. RC, the Paradron Medic, and Elita one, no, they're not really worth, I don't think, the deluxe price point. The Alicon, while I like it, again, I think it's a stretch to say he's worth the price point, maybe, arguably. Then we have like Bug Bite. And Bug Bite, as well as Cliff Jumper and Hubcap and Bumblebee, are objectively not worth the deluxe price point. They're just not. You see Black Rorichi maybe kind of up in the hand of Scorponok there. He definitely is, because of the amount of kind of beautiful paint and whatnot that's on him. For Fast Track, maybe, but if you can get him on sale, I think that that's better. I feel like the tolerances too are better on Black Rorichi. So in terms of the deluxes, there were some hits and misses. If we look at, for example, Ironhide back here and Ratchet, if you got these without the Galactic Odyssey stuff being cancelled on you, or if you got those without the QC issues, and there's one in particular with the Ironhide where the arm could not swing up and actually had to be shaved down, because you can't just return this stuff easily. If you avoid that, then they're definitely worth it. If you didn't avoid that, then that was going to be a problem for you. Run Amok had a lot of QC issues. Too many QC issues for what it was. With Bug Bite as well, we had many reports of there being missing parts missing from his packaging. I even heard a report. Here's one of the other issues with some of these exclusives and stuff. I talked about Ironhide there. The Ironhide and Prowl, first of all, have not been uniform. A lot of people have had those orders canceled. Luckily mine wasn't one of them. But I heard a story of someone in Canada who got the box, but the box seemed to rattle, and upon opening it, realized that someone had taken the Earthrise ratchet and the Earthrise prowl, replaced it with Siege ratchet and Siege prowl, and done a return to Amazon. And Amazon sold it as a new product, so buyer beware. The deluxes were a mixed bag of hit or miss. I like Sunstreaker, but I don't like the way the paint was handled. The mismatch of the yellows, for example, I think was a bit of an eyesore. Then we get to the Voyagers. I think the Voyagers are the... How can I say this delicately? I think that the Voyagers are where things really went wrong with this line. We have some wins, some hits, for sure. I would say that the Netflix Soundwave is a hit. I would say the Netflix Optimus Prime with the two little battlemasters is an absolute hit. I have, for example, been lucky enough to get Red Wing and Hot Link. I think they were both hits. I think Grapple here was a hit, though a lot of people think he's a miss because of the breaking pegs. I don't understand why people are breaking them, but they do. I think that the Selects Super Megatron was a hit, but then we have Snapdragon, who he looks good, but I've heard breakage issues with the jaw and the Titan Master. You can't bend the arm to 90 degrees. I think the Seekers are absolute miss. They're a complete rip-off. Starscream and the other two that were part of the Cybertronian villains, pure rip-off. It's an upsized version of the Classics mold. The Classics mold was significantly cheaper, and some of the improvements that they made, I don't think were improvements. Some of the deluxes as well have also been hit or miss in terms of comparison. Elita 1. A lot of people like the new Netflix Elita 1. I think that the Netflix Elita 1, at least here in Canada, is the exact same price as what the Power of the Primes one was, and significant, half the size for the exact same price. As imperfect as the Power of the Primes Elita 1 was, I cannot justify paying the same price for much, much less with the Netflix. If you do, cool, man, you win, but I don't see it, just like I don't think the RC is necessarily worth it. The Impactor reissue, worth it. I think Wheeljack was worth it, but that's subjective. A lot of people would say Wheeljack wasn't worth it, and therefore Exhaust wasn't worth it. To me, I love the mold, and it's totally subjective for me to say it. But going back to the Voyagers, like I said, I think that the Soundwave, I think the Optimus was definitely worth it. From Netflix, I think Hot Link and Red Wing were worth it, but I don't think the Earthrise Seekers are, not by a long shot. Then we get to the leaders. Not worth it. None of the leaders were true leaders, even though Double Dealer over there was touted as the true leader class. Here's why. For Astrotrain reissued, who I said wasn't worth it in Siege, he's not worth it in Earthrise either, you have a decent Voyager with a bunch of add-on parts. The Optimus, I think, was worth it. He was less mass than we traditionally have had for a leader. He came in at about 290 or so, 292, versus the traditional 315 to 325 grams of plastic for a leader. So the Optimus, yeah, he didn't have the mass, but you know what? He had a trailer. He had the working arm in that trailer. You could even take part of the trailer off to become a shield. It could connect to the bases. He had his ion blaster. He comes with a matrix. He had working fingers. And he kind of could be interpreted maybe as a definitive Optimus Prime. I do think that they should have rounded out that Optimus release with roller included as well as his axe, and sold that for the leader class price point. If both of those things had been in there, he would have been a perfect leader offering, bringing together amounts of plastic. I do think that the leader pack Nemesis Prime, while for me was worth it, a lot of people have said that that was overpriced. I can't argue with you. Yes, he was overpriced. He should have been a typical leader price. He was not. He was a bit higher. I get it because you have the compound and you have the energon blocks and you have the two minions being I don't know, the Slitherfang lad, whatever his name was, Fangtron, and Giza. You had Prime, you had his trailer, you had a bunch of blasters, and you had a sword. And so, like, I get it. I get where you're adding everything in there to make up the price point. But I don't know if you needed all of that. I think people would have preferred to have the slightly lower price point and the things like included with him for the most part. Maybe leave out some of the Power of the Primes, Nemesis Prime stuff. Maybe you didn't need that. So I get it. For me it was worth it, but I totally get when people say no, that was overpriced. And then we get to the Commander class. Commander class Skylings, worth it. So worth it for me, but I didn't have the QC issues that other people did. Most notably with the wings. Mine are fine, but a lot of people have had major QC issues with those wings. I got mine on sale. If you got yours on sale, all the better. But I do think because he has the shuttle mode, because he has the two different parts, because they can each be independent robots, because he has the base mode as well, and it's easy transformation for all of it, I think that he is probably even more worth it than Jetfire was. And I thought Jetfire was totally worth it. He surprised me. Skylings I wasn't going to get, but when I finally got him in hand, I understood the hype, and that's why he's worth it. Then we get to Titan Scorponok. Totally worth it. But let's keep in mind of where we are with Titan class now. I think he's worth it. He's one of the heavier Titans for sure. But we did not get a little minion partner with him. We did not get a sticker sheet with him. We did not get a bunch of accessories with him. We had got a shield. So there's a lot of scaling back that happened with Scorponok. Now we did get a headmaster unit. We did get the smaller Zarek to go with it. And arguably we do have a higher parts count on this guy maybe than other Titans. So was he worth it? Yes. But if we start to get less of a parts count, since they've already removed stickers and for the most part accessories, then the only thing left to do now without raising the prices again is going to be to start reducing parts count, simplifying things. You know, looking back at Metroplex, I know that's many years ago now, here he was, depending on where you bought him, but let's use like regular retail, he was $134.50, and he did come with, you know, blasters on his shoulders. This guy comes with blasters on his shoulders. He did come with one big blaster. Well, this guy came with a shield. He did come with a little minion. Well, I guess this guy has the headmaster unit, and he did come with stickers. This guy did not come with stickers. So, like, there's, you know, and arguably this has a higher parts count than Metroplex. So yes, it was worth it, but pay attention to what's going on with the Titan class. So, in terms of what was released, yeah, overall I think Earthrise was worth the investment of the money. But here's the caveats that go with that. 2020 was hard on a lot of people, especially financially. A lot of people got like laid off, and you know, they got furloughed or whatever the case might be, and suffered in a lot of ways because of it. And while all of this is great, it was a year's worth of product that really came out in about 2 months. Wave 1, at least here, came out in February. I think in the US it was even earlier than that, but it came out here in about February. And that was all that we had. Wave 1 was fine, man. Wave 1 of Earthrise was fine. And that was most of what we had until the late summer. And then we started hearing of all of these exclusives. Amazon exclusives, Galactic Odyssey series. I'm convinced that several that was included in the Galactic Odyssey line was intended to be Wave 4, maybe Wave 5 of Earthrise. It didn't happen, but we got to get it out this year. So we're going to put it out as an Amazon exclusive line. I think it's great to get the Autobot clones. I think they were priced about right, maybe slightly high, but I think they were priced about right. I lucked out with getting my Paradron Medics. So many people have had that canceled. I am lucky that on Christmas Eve, my Prowl and Ironhide showed up. A lot of people have had it canceled. My Coneheads have been delayed 5 times, though people have had them for months. A lot of people have also had those canceled. Certain countries that have Amazon have had none of these. Even here, you cannot pre-order the Barricade and Punch Counterpunch. It's not in stock, can't pre-order it. My Micron 6-pack, canceled. And what was the other one? I don't know. There's another one of those Galactic Odyssey sets that again you can't order, and some people have had it canceled. I think that the Amazon exclusive Galactic Odyssey rollout has been a disaster, actual disaster. Whether that's on the factories not keeping up with production, or Hasbro trying to push too much too fast, or Amazon for overselling what they don't have, or if the blame falls on all of those, I don't know, but I know it's frustrated and alienated and it enraged a lot of fans. A lot of fans. Then we have Cybertronian villains. Cybertronian villains in the United States is a Target exclusive line. In Canada, it's a Toys R Us exclusive line. Though, we have heard nothing of the release of Runabout. Don't know if we're getting it. We have heard that there will be a order of 900 thrusts for the entire country. That's not enough. That's not close to enough. I think that doing that was a big mistake. Really big mistake. Same with the clones, same with making the Skywarp and Thundercracker 2-pack an exclusive there. So many people wanted it, so many didn't get it. Outside of Canada and the United States, outside of Target and Toys R Us, I don't even know other ways other countries have been able to get it. Certainly not without having to pay scalper prices. And that is on Hasbro and their distribution. Their very poor distribution. The QC in this line has been atrocious the whole way through. I think that's because, again, Hasbro's trying to push too much product way too fast, and I think that the factories have been struggling with diminished capacity this year to keep up. Don't think they can do it. I really don't think that it's sustainable for them to do it, and a lot of bad QC got through. My bug bite has loosey-goosey waist, likes to fall back. So many issues that I had with my run amok, that a lot of other people have also talked about, with the chest breaking off and the head breaking off, and my head was unable to move and the shoulders cracking, and I've heard of knee issues with it. What else? The pegs breaking on grapple. I've heard of the wing issues on Skylinks. We know that with the Skywarp or the Thundercracker, there was a notch that had to be cut out on several of those. I haven't heard any issues with Scorponok directly, which is good. What else? Breakage at the legs of Double Dealer is another one that I've heard, especially at the knees. I've heard of it breaking off. So there's been a lot of issues. I love the Quintesson Judge. Think he was actually worth it, but again, like, the transformation's kind of lazy. You got the egg top of his head that just rests in there. It doesn't lock into anything. People have struggled to put on those two faces. They got to go in a very specific order. I did a video about it, but you shouldn't have to fight to put this stuff on, not at the prices that you're paying. So, then we get to whether or not it was worth our time and effort. And I would say to you, no. No. The hunt has been made too hard. All of these Fan First Friday reveals and stuff. It was, let's get straight what it was. It was American fans, and only American fans catered by that. And even American fans have not been serviced by it because a lot of things have been canceled or not shipped out. Or just didn't show up because of atrocious distribution. They would announce something for Cybertronian villains. It's going to be a Target exclusive. What about the rest of the world? All you've done is enrage and alienate the other 6.5 billion people that could potentially be fans. And some of them have paid scalper prices for, and some of them have just said, I'm not going to get it. I can't get it. You've left money on the table. So, where do we stand? Was Earthrise worth it? In terms of being a collector, in terms of getting character representations, yes. I do think that it was worth it. As much as Siege? No. As a matter of fact, there are certain characters that arguably, if you have the Siege, don't bother to upgrade it. Some people have said, I'm not worried about getting the Ironhide or the Prowl for Earthrise. Who cares? I got the Siege and they're fine. Same with the Ratchet. Some people didn't get either Ratchet. So, in terms of Earthrise being worth it, yes, but you know what? That's only if you want the Earth modes bad enough. I do think that we had some more hollowness. I do think we had some more articulation limits, and that does concern me going forward. But it was worth it. In terms of effort and kind of piquing interest for collectors and new collectors, I think that Hasbro's business practices failed miserably. I would not want to be a new collector just coming into this hobby now. You've made it too hard with far too many exclusives that are far too hard to get. And you pushed through a year's worth of product in 2 months because of your own selfish greed. It had nothing to do with supply and demand or pleasing fans. It was, we've lost too much profit in this quarter. We have to please the shareholders, which means we have to push everything out before year end, and that's what they did. And you had Wave 2 and Wave 3 of Earthrise going on concurrent with Studio Series releases, and going on concurrent with Netflix releases, and going on concurrent with Selects, and then you had the Cybertronian villains and the Galactic, and all of this onslaught of product at once. Fans have not been able to keep up, can't even keep straight in a lot of cases what is being offered where. And that has enraged a lot of people, frustrated a lot of people, and just plain made some sad who have suffered financial hardships. I think it's been the slimiest of most disgusting business practices, and I don't trust or believe in Hasbro at this point. I think that what we got was worth it, but the way it was rolled out was absolutely not worth it. So much so that I even find myself, while I'm looking forward to Kingdom, I refuse to hunt so hard for Kingdom stuff and its associated exclusives as I had to hunt for this. I did it toward the end of 2020, but I'm not doing it again. And making it that hard and making you, as a fan, have to hunt that much during a global pandemic, I think is an unforgivable business practice. You should have made all of this readily available to everyone. This was your year to vastly work on and improve and lay the groundwork for better distribution, and as a company, Hasbro, you failed miserably. And here we are once again, and like I said, this was going to be a difficult discussion for us to have. I mean, like, here's 2 more offerings from Earthrise. We have Fast Track, who, like he was fine, but I mean, he has articulation limits, and there's some tolerance issues here that when you're paying, $30+ for a character, he shouldn't have those. It's as simple as that. It should have been better QC. And then we have this guy who I adore. I don't think oh yeah, I did take out the things over his shoulders. I think that I adore this guy. I really, really do. I think he's great. I honestly think he's great. But it's not easy this year for the 2020 year to kind of balance it out. Do I think Earthrise was worth it? Yes, I do, in terms of what you got for what you invested. For the most part, there were a few misses, but most of them, I think, were worthwhile hits. Unfortunately, the business practices used around it and the way things were rolled out into distribution was so atrocious that it enraged and alienated and disappointed so many people. Almost nobody, certainly not outside of the United States, almost nobody feels like they are a valued customer. Almost nobody feels like there's any recourse if there's poor QC or there's an issue. There's no replacement because the product just isn't there. And a lot of people then paid good money for this stuff only to have these issues, and now there's no remedy. And those who say, contact customer service about their customer service is garbage. It's trash. People have complained about Pulse. First of all, Pulse is only really available in the US. There's an option outside the US, but generally in the US. And people have said, their pre-order stuff sell out. You're the manufacturer. Why would your pre-order sell out? That makes no sense. None. You as the manufacturer should have excess of the product in hand. It's as simple as that. So, from a dollars and cents standpoint, yeah, I think that it was definitely a good year to be a collector. I think that you generally got good value for money. I don't think the Seeker mold, the Earthrise Seeker mold, was worth it. I don't necessarily think that the Fast Track is worth the full price of admission, so to speak. A lot of the exclusives really, really shouldn't have happened. I think the worst exclusive of the year, the one that alienated the most people, the one that had a ton of hype, and that literally nobody was able to get outside of the US, and even within the US, it was highly limited, was the Centurion pack. That was nothing but a disgusting slap in the face to fans of, here, if you live in the US and you want to pay for a Pulse Premium, then you can get this and these bits and pieces. But we're going to make sure that the entire world over sees it and sees what they can't get. So, dollars and cents, yeah, Earthrise was worth it. From a business standpoint of investment of time and like your interest and being valued as a fan, I think Hasbro has failed as a company. I think they're a disgrace business-wise, and I think their business practices globally have been a disaster this year. I would not, for all the money in the world, invest in that company right now, because as far as I'm concerned, to prove that they have long-term viability and to prove that they actually do value the end consumer, I think they have a lot to prove in 2021, a lot of work to do with improving their QC, because there's been bad QC through Earthrise because of it being rushed through a factory that, let's be honest, the factory workers don't care about us and our collections in the least. They need to vastly improve their QC, they need to vastly improve their distribution, and they need to cut down on the unsellable, we'll say, junk. A lot of like Cyberverse One Step and whatnot. The whole buzzworthy line shouldn't exist. Trim all that fat, man. Trim all that fat. And you need to vastly work on your distribution and making things available to the fans in an easy manner so that we as fans can get what we want. It's as simple as that. Investment of dollars and cents, yes. But investment and trust in the actual company and the business, not a chance. Let me know how you think collecting was in 2020 for you and for all of us. I appreciate you guys coming by for this very difficult conversation. No doubt about it. What can I say? Thank you for giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, man, you right there, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned way, baby, right here inside the videos.